Welcome to the Learn Tarot with Moxxie podcast, where you can learn to read the tarot for yourself and for others. Here we look at the tarot from all angles, and I share the very best ways to use it to work through past trauma and create the life that you love. So join me. Hey everyone, it's Michelle. How are you guys today? Welcome to the Learn Tarot with Moxxie podcast. This week, we are going to be talking about the differences between the Hermit and the Eight of Cups. That will be our detailed tarot conversation this week. And I also have a tarot activity available for you this week that we're going to be going over that is designed to help you begin to learn to integrate the tarot card knowledge that you have. And I'll explain a little bit more when we get there. And the question of the week, which is, what is tarot used for other than readings? And we're going to get into that. Before we get started, though, of course, we have our announcements. The court card course is up and running and ready to go. If you are someone who has struggled with court cards, if you are someone who says, oh crap, when you have court cards show up in a reading, or what about when you're reading for someone else and you have a bunch of court cards and you know that feeling, right? It's like, oh crud. This course, actually it's more like a workshop, is designed to help you overcome some of that. It's designed to help you establish a relationship with the cards and learn to look at the cards in a way that does not induce that type of anxiety. So if you're interested, if you are struggling with the court cards, then I invite you to hop over to the Learn Tarot with Moxxie website and check out that course. Also, another freebie, I was digging through some old files the other day and just stumbled upon a presentation I had given on using the tarot with absolutely no card knowledge whatsoever. And it was a presentation for a women's summit, and it was designed to teach people that even if they don't want to take the time to learn all of the tarot meanings, there is a lot of value that can be found in the tarot. So I just decided I would throw that up there. It's listed under workshops or courses or something like that because I didn't want to make you download the long file. But it's really more of just like a free presentation. So if you are interested in that, that as well is over at the Moxxie Coaching website for your perusal. And the last announcement is more of a reminder about the free reading opportunity that is available. But it's also a reminder to you that if you choose to sign up for the free reading, please do so using the contact form of the Moxxie Tarot website and include your question in the comment section. Because what I am doing is I am looking for questions that really kind of match up with the way I read. So in other words, if you ask a question that says, when am I going to meet my twin flame? I'm far less likely to answer that question than I am, what can I do to solve this problem at work, right? Because that's the way I focus my readings. So if you would like a free reading, please hop over to the site, log on. Actually, I don't even think you have to log on. I think you just have to hop over to the site, go to the contact form and complete that form with your question in there, and then we'll take it from there. Our question of the week actually comes from a website called Quora. And I have created a profile and I'm creating a community on Quora that's focused on Moxxie Tarot. And the question was, which I thought was a good one, what is the tarot used for other than tarot readings? I think there are a few different answers to that question. My favorite way to use the tarot that is not related to a tarot reading is to use it either with children or with adults as a way of helping them get in touch with what is going on in their head, in their feelings. And because the cards are images of things that are really so familiar to most of us on a daily basis, and this I'm talking about the minor arcana cards, it's really easy for people to identify with those cards, maybe how they're feeling, or maybe assign how they think someone else is feeling based on just looking at the card meanings. So, for example, let's use this week's card. We're using the Eight of Cups this week in one of our sessions here. And the card, looking at it, there's a person who has nice and neatly stacked up these 8 cups. It's very clear that this was an intentional task for this person. And now we see this person walking away from these cups. Even for someone not interested in the tarot in the least, they can look at this card and they can come up with a story, more than likely, about what's going on in this card. Oh, this guy is walking away because X, Y, or Z. And they're going to fill in their own rationale, right? Or, they could look at the card and say, oh, this is what's in those cups and I'm trying to get away from them. Whatever it is that they perceive looking at this card. They might perceive this card as a happy card because maybe somebody's going on vacation, right? Maybe it looks like they have all of their work done and now they're off on vacation. Or maybe it looks like they are off on some sort of spiritual journey. It can vary from person to person. It's going to vary based on our individual context, our individual, probably our individual, cultural upbringing and all of those things, because they influence how we perceive the world. And when we perceive the world, the tarot is a part of that. So by using the cards this way, therapists use it, and boy, I wish I probably would have been strung up as a witch. I was going to say, I wish I had known about using tarot this way when I was working in early childhood. Because when we are working in early childhood, it is not at all unusual for a little person to have a really hard time expressing their feelings. They either don't have the words for it, they don't have the emotional maturity to put it into words, whatever it is. Excuse me, it can be difficult for children, especially young children, to articulate their feelings. And with an appropriate tarot deck, so I'm not talking about a scary deck, I'm not talking about a dark deck, I'm talking about a deck that maybe was even designed for children, and there are decks out there like that these days. Picking up a deck like that and sitting down with your 3-year-old when they are so frustrated and asking them to choose a card that shows how they feel, right? Maybe 3. I don't know. You're going to have to play with the ages a little bit, because a 3-year-old really triggered is maybe not going to be able to sit and thoughtfully choose a card. So maybe you're looking at age 4 or 5. But the benefits are still there. Think about a therapy session. Think about a session in which, you are struggling with, I don't know, let's say, I always use work because it's easier. Let's say you're struggling with something going on at work and you are talking to your counselor or your therapist about all of these things and you're really struggling to articulate it, you're struggling to even put words into your feelings, or maybe you're struggling to clarify your feelings in a way that will make it easier for you to articulate them. Grabbing that deck of tarot cards and having the client look through those cards and choose individual cards that address how they're feeling, allow them to express why they chose the card they chose, and then potentially even encourage them to come up with a little empowering story. This is the card that represents how I feel right now. Okay, that's great. I understand you're sad. Pick another couple cards, blah, blah, blah. Go through, of course, all of the gentle, kind, loving things that we do. And then say, okay, we have a pretty good idea of what's going on. Let's pick some cards that you believe or you see or that draw you to them in a way that you can maybe see some solutions, that you can see some ways of being that you haven't tried yet. For me, that is probably the best use of, or the best non-tarot use of the tarot cards. And using the cards this way is actually just coincidentally the foundation of the presentation that I did on using the tarot with no card meanings. And if that is something that you're interested in, what we focused on in that presentation is problem solving. Taking the tarot cards, or if you are familiar enough with the tarot cards that it might play with your head a little bit to go just blank and pick cards based on the imagery, right? Because if you're already tying a meaning in with the card and you want to use the cards as problem solving, with this different approach, then you want to choose a deck that you're not familiar with, or you want to choose, even oracle cards can be useful. Although I do see oracle cards tend to be a little bit more nebulous in their meanings, it seems to me. So choose a deck that is illustrative, one that has pictures that tell stories. And I think that you'll find that it really can be an amazing self-help tool for working through challenges, problem solving, all of those types of things. So yes, tarot can be used for things other than traditional tarot reading, and that's the way I recommend you use it. Now, our activity, our Let's Learn Tarot activity for the week is an activity that's designed to help you, number one, learn to combine cards, learn to combine them to tell a story, learn to combine them in a way that is meaningful. Because when we're learning to read and we're using the book and we're using card meanings and we're flipping back and forth between our reading and the book and those types of things, we can get stuck on the keywords. I think some people get very stuck on the keywords and work very hard to learn the keywords, which I understand because they're kind of like the low-hanging fruit when it comes to memorizing the tarot. And they're really helpful, don't get me wrong. But what seems to me to be left out of a lot of tarot education is teaching people to actually blend card meanings to create a new meaning. And so we're going to do some of these activities over the next couple months. I'm going to throw some out there for you and just hope that you take up the challenge and really start to play with your cards this way. And once you get used to playing with your cards this way, you can come up with your own scenarios, and they can be as serious or as ridiculous as you want. Okay? So this first activity is a 3-card scenario. And what I would like you to do is choose 3 cards that, if they came up in a reading, would represent a grumpy boss surprising you with a promotion. So what 3 cards would you choose to represent this scenario? Well, you certainly can pick 1 for your grumpy boss. You can choose 1 card to represent yourself, and you can choose another card to represent the surprise or the type of promotion, or however it is that makes sense to you to combine, play with card meanings to create something new. And if you have any interest at all in shooting me an email with them, I would love to hear what some of them are. I also would be happy to start posting some of these like on social media. My goal here is to try to create a community of people who want to learn the tarot and learn it in a way that is, I think, more rich and more meaningful and honestly more useful than a lot of what we see out there on social media, where we see people turning over cards and doing live readings in 3 seconds. And I'm not about that. I'm about diving deeper into the tarot and sharing that knowledge with you, and hoping that you will join me and really start to see what the tarot can do for you. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the difference between the Hermit and the 8 of Cups. When we do these compare and contrast 2 cards sections of the podcast, a lot of times the cards that we're talking about are cards that I personally found confusing at the beginning, right? Cards that I really struggled to articulate the subtle differences between. So again, if that's something that you're interested in, you can shoot me a question over on Quora. You can head over to the website and email me a question if you have 2 cards that you would like to compare and contrast on the air. So the Hermit and the 8 of Cups are both cards of introspection. They're both cards of leaving polite society behind in an effort to gain some wisdom, some knowledge, get in touch with something that we're not able to get in touch with when we are, in the fray. But there are some pretty big differences between these cards as well. Where the Hermit we can look at as in general, and of course there are always exceptions to tarot rules, but in general, we can look at the Hermit as someone that has wisdom, someone with some wise counsel, right? This is the Hermit is someone that you would go to for your most vexing problems. I am deeply unhappy. I am struggling with my life direction. I am considering ending my relationship. These are big deal things. And so the Hermit is a card that we can look to for some of that wise counsel. And basically, when you see this card, you know that there is wisdom that's offered and it is available. It doesn't mean that you will take advantage of it, but it means it's available, okay? Now, when we look at the Eight of Cups, this is also a card of introspection, but this is more of a personalized finding the answer on your own type of situation, whereas the Hermit is about seeking counsel elsewhere. The Eight of Cups is more about looking inside and figuring out what's going on for yourself, more of a spiritual journey. So when the Hermit comes up for you in a reading, it suggests that, oh, you might want to be open to some advice and some feedback. Maybe there is some coming your way. Who around you might be able to help you get to the core of whatever it is you're trying to get to. The Hermit is also suggesting that we embrace looking inside, we embrace some solitude, we spend some time on introspection. Now, the Eight of Cups is similar in that, we're all about this wisdom, about inner wisdom. But with the Eight of Cups, it's more like taking things into your own hands, okay? It's more like, I am really frustrated with my partner right now. So whereas the Hermit, if we get the Hermit that comes up when we're considering splitting from our partner, right? That the Hermit is coming up to encourage us to spend some time thinking about it, to talk to people, to get some wise counsel, to not jump the gun, to be thoughtful, to really take some time and figure it out. Go to your counselor, go to your clergy person, go to your internet guru, whoever it is that helps you with those things, right? The Hermit is saying, yes, help is available. Get that help. It'll help you, figure things out. It'll help you really understand where you are with the situation. The Eight of Cups is more like finally having made that decision, right? It's like maybe you haven't pulled the trigger on it yet, but you've kind of made the decision. And it's a process of working through what you need to work through in order to be able to be where you want to be. So the Eight of Cups is more soul search, more raising your own energetic vibration. The Eight of Cups I would see much more as a cup of somebody who was going into a retreat, right? Where you're going to intentionally set yourself apart, to give yourself some time, to give yourself some space to explore what the heck is going on with you in your head, right? This card is much more about mental, spiritual than it is about anything material, right? Clearly, right? Because we have cups. Cups are all about feelings and emotions and intuition. So this card may come up when you are having more spiritual problems. This card might come up when you're having some sort of life crisis. And goodness knows there are plenty of crises to go around these days. So if this card comes up for you, keep in mind that really is the focus. It could be asking you, what is it that you need to be looking at right now? Or what is it that maybe you've been wanting to be looking at that you either haven't had time or haven't put the effort or the energy into? The card could be a suggestion that it's time for you to do that. Whereas the Hermit is more of a suggestion that help is available to you to work through some of your problems. So maybe the difference in therapy versus silent retreat, kind of the difference, right, between the Hermit and the Eight of Cups. One thing that helped me really remember the difference is the Eight of Cups can be compared to the Buddha story, if you're at all familiar. And if you're not, the Buddha story is basically Siddhartha was a prince, I think, very, very, very wealthy young man, raised in a way that his parents said, we are going to protect you from all heartbreak, all sadness, all ugliness. Your life is going to be filled with beauty and light and wonderfulness. And Buddha was unhappy. Siddhartha was unhappy. Even with everything in his life being amazing and wonderful, he was unhappy. So what did he do? He left. He got all of his ducks in a row. He piled his cups up. And he left the comfort of something that he knew was safe and easy, and all of the everything, whatever he wanted, was there. But he left all of that because it was more important to him to do the soul searching, to find more meaning in life. So you can look at the Eight of Cups similarly to that, right? That is the find meaning in life card, or find meaning in whatever situation you're involved in. And the Hermit is more find some assistance, find some help, find some wisdom. Keeping in mind, though, that depending on the reading, depending on the situation, the Hermit could actually represent yourself. The Hermit could be you holding up this lantern and saying, okay, let's shine some light on this situation, because I know I have it in me. I know that there is inner wisdom available to me. So that is a less common interpretation, but it still is one that's possible. So while both of these cards are about thought, processing emotion, working through things, you can just remember that in general, the Hermit is either that part of ourselves that has the wisdom that we forget we have, or the Hermit is someone, something around you that you need to be listening to. Whereas the Eight of Cups really focuses on us going inside, looking for something larger out of life spiritually, and taking control over something that's not working. That, hey, I'm really having a hard time with X, Y, or Z, so this is a very difficult decision for me, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get everything organized, and then I'm leaving it behind for a little while. That's more of what this card is about. So there's subtle differences, and there are a lot of crossing similarities, but those are the key differences. And I hope that when these cards come up for you, you'll be a little bit more comfortable in talking your way through them, feeling like, okay, I know which direction I'm going. All right, everybody, that is it for this week. Enjoy your week. Have fun playing with your 3 cards to represent yourself and the grumpy boss who gave you a promotion. And remember that we have resources and courses and all sorts of stuff available over on the website if you have any interest. Have a great week, and be well and be kind. Bye-bye. If you enjoyed this episode of the Learn Tarot with Moxxie podcast, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. It helps other people find us when you guys are vocal about who we are, what we are, where we are, and what we offer. Remember too, if you want to submit a question for a tarot reading, you can sign up on the Moxxie website, and there will be a link in the show notes for you below. Those questions are questions that I will consider for using as example readings during podcast episodes. Of course, everything is 100% confidential. There will be no hints or tips about who you are, but it would be a way for you to get a question answered by me and share a learning experience with everyone else. So if you are interested in doing that, in that free reading, please head on over to the Moxxie website where you can sign up. And again, there will be a link in the show notes below. Remember too that the website has a ton of resources and freebies that are available to you that will help you on your tarot learning journey. And lastly, if you want to stay up on the nitty-gritty of what's going on at Moxxie, I invite you to be a free member of the Moxxie community. You just need to pop over there, sign up. I know that we don't always catch every single episode, and signing up will mean that when there is a new course announced, you will hear that. When there is a new blog post that I am particularly pleased with, I will send that as well. You have my word that I am not an over-emailer, because I really do not like over-emailing, and I don't like reading through tons and tons of emails that just seem to be sent for the sake of being sent. So I promise I will not do that to you. So those are some ways to stay connected with Moxxie and ways that I invite you to join the community. All right, you take care, have a wonderful week, be kind, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.